Well, the president of China, they're describing it as a historical moment, what has taken place here in South Africa, as South Africa is chairing the 15th BRICS Summit. It has had 5 members for a long time, but now it will have an additional 6 members. The expansion of BRICS includes Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as well as Iran. They will assume their first full membership in January next year. And mind you, that next year's summit will be taking place in Russia. What message would this be sending to the world and also to global institutions as we currently know them? However, though, there seems to have not been consensus when it comes to the issue around the de-dollarization. The instruction that has now been given is to the finance ministers from the BRICS member states, as well as the central banks, to look into this question. And perhaps next year at the Russian summit of the BRICS, we will hear what decision has been taken, what the final decision on that would be. Mzondile Mbeje is still joining us, SABC political news editor. Your takeaways from the declaration? Yeah, quite massive. On the African soil in South Africa, we are witnessing the reimagination of the global politics. It's quite massive. I know some people may not think this is big. Looking back 10 years from now, we'll be able to say this is what happened in South Africa. It does tell you, Aldrin, that as a country, we actually have influence. We just need to know how to use it. In fact, if you look at the countries that have been admitted, very strategic, very influential in their regions, and very rich. I mean, Saudi Arabia is the top oil producing country. I mean, you look at Iran, UAE. I mean, even in Latin America, South America, so Argentina. So you already have 2 giants from South America. And then on the African continent, you now have 3. South Africa, East Africa, Ethiopia, North Africa, Egypt. And then you look at how they chose in the Middle East, those 3 countries, Iran, Saudi. So this tells you where they want to go with this. When the president of China said we need to develop the mechanism of deepening cooperation using these countries, so that does tell you indeed that it's going to be huge. And it's also interesting looking at the countries that have been included. And you look at BRICS, for instance, and what is clear, what isn't part of BRICS is an Arab nation, an Islamic nation. And now that has been included. And I wonder, during the conversations and the discussions that were taking place, we don't know what the criteria is as yet around who can make a member. Prime Minister Modi has now said that they will be working towards also getting some of these people, countries that have expressed interest in joining BRICS, to eventually join BRICS and meet the criteria. However, though, having Islamic nations also being part of this, for me, also speaks to the issue around inclusivity. That is what they've been stressing, to say, in our diversity, we draw strength. That's exactly what is happening here. And not only that, you look at the countries that have been picked up or that have been admitted, they're quite strong. If you have the ambition of transforming be it the economic system or the political system, you go with your strongest. And look at these countries. You'd be able to push your agenda because you've got countries and that are located in regions that matter. We spoke about Saudi Arabia, for example. Everyone, I mean, the West really depends on Saudi Arabia because it's the top oil producing country. I mean, look at UAE. So quite key. And
do you think energy would have been a consideration as well, because we know what's happening currently in the world around energy security and also the type of fossil fuel that you are able to use to create that energy.
Indeed. Also going beyond that, Aldrin, also looking at the discussions, of course, despite that they didn't agree, but they agreed to set up a working group, finance ministers, to really look at how best can we use our own currencies or the common currency. Because right now, when you look at the issue of the oil and the energy that you are speaking about, is still in dollars. So now that you've got these countries that produce the highest, and then at the same time you are busy working towards being able to trade amongst yourself on your own terms. Because if you're trading with the dollar, which is a global currency, and it's agreed, I mean, it was agreed many years ago that it would be used, in fact, after the Second World War.
Yeah.
So, because you are reworking this world, this global architecture, what are the elements that you need? So you don't have to do it boom at once. You do it step by step. So you've got the countries that can assist you in enabling that possibility. So when you then talk about the issue of the payment system, so they trade amongst themselves very hugely, these countries. So you've got to get them. How do you then, what sort of money or currency do you use? It's going to be quite key.
It's going to be quite an important one. We will be joined by SABC News as international news editor to also get her reaction to the decisions that have been taken, also the declaration that you just heard there but earlier on from the President of South Africa, who is of course the chairperson of the BRICS Summit, the 15th BRICS Summit. As we did indicate a bit earlier on, that the Russian Federation will be hosting the next summit. What message will it send to have all of those leaders and the new ones who are joining BRICS on the podium when they take that photo op? Because this time around it will be happening in Russia. Yeah. So the Russian president will actually be there.